Hey, welcome to another episode of Amp Up Solar Talk. Today we're joined by Cali from our NABCEP Certified design team here at Signature Solar. If you've ever submitted a request through our Design Your System tool on our website, chances are someone like Cali was working behind the scenes to take your inputs to design a custom solar plan for you. She's here to walk us through what that process looks like, what challenges come up, and how our design team brings solar goals to life every day. So if you're joining us live, be sure and drop your questions in the chat. We'd love to have you join us in our conversation today. Callie, welcome to the show. Thanks so much for being here.
Yeah, Kelly, thank you so much for having me here. I'm incredibly excited to be here supporting the design team and just in general representing the team and company that I love so much.
Absolutely. So let's start off with a little bit of background. We're going to get into all this work stuff here in just a minute. And we know that you're passionate about your job. And guys, that's going to come out here in just a little bit. But when you're not designing solar systems, what do you enjoy doing outside of work?
Well, as you can imagine, I love the outdoors. It kind of fits really well with the whole solar idea. I love hiking, camping, pretty much anything to do with being in nature, just kind of lying in grass even. I also take care of my animals. I have 2 cats and a bunny, and I love them very much. And I just love spending time with my family and just enjoying life.
I love it. Sounds like we would get along great outside of work.
I can imagine.
How long have you been with Signature Solar?
I just hit a year and a half this month.
Congratulations.
Thank you. I love it. It feels like I've simultaneously been here for 10 years, but also 3 days. It's a constant feeling. But I started in sales, worked in sales for a couple of months, and I became a sales lead. I was a sales lead for about 9 months, and then I transitioned to design in the beginning of this year in January.
Okay. How do you feel like sales prepared you for your role here on the design team?
Oh, so many things. We get so many questions thrown at us all the time, constantly, things that I never would have even envisioned. So on sales, I had to do a lot more research and digging to find answers, of course, online and, those around me. I have some amazing colleagues, but really just a lot of learning and repetition. And it really helped me become familiar with the products that I work with and all the knowledge that I might need to have for this role.
And during that process, in sales, you became NABCEP certified. Tell me a little bit more about that.
Absolutely. Yeah, I became NABCEP certified. Actually, whenever I first started, I heard about the NABCEP certification, and it was this big, scary test. And at the time, a lot of people were still in the process of getting theirs, but I knew immediately that I wanted to do it. And overall, I feel as though everything I learned while being in sales prior to getting my NABCEP certification really set me up for success in that way. I feel like I learned a significant amount of the history of solar and in general, how to better design systems because of that. And for anyone that is exploring getting their NABCEP certification, whether or not you work in the solar industry or if you're looking to do your own system, I highly, highly encourage it.
Great. Good point. So let's then talk about the design team.
Mm-hmm.
What is the design team, and can you walk us through a typical day on the design team?
Absolutely. So the design team is essentially going to be a one-stop shop for pretty much everything solar. So we are a trained, educated group of individuals that are here to help meet people's needs. So whether that means designing a system for an off-grid cabin in the woods, or if you're just wanting to offset a little bit of your electric bill, or let's say you just bought a new camper and you're wanting to go boondocking with your family. We are here to have the answers to your problems and help come up with solutions in any way, shape, or form. So generally, I work on a consultation basis. I'm the direct point of contact for all of the customers I work with. So once you see my name, that means I'll be your go-to person moving forward. Same with all of my other colleagues. So we're essentially resources. We design and curated systems to fit needs, and hopefully you get it from us and you're very happy and enjoy it. And then we get to see your progress along the way.
So you just want to make customers happy while meeting their goals and staying within their budget.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's a lot of goals and budget for sure, but just meeting their needs. And when they say that this is exactly what I was looking for, it's what makes my job so worth it.
Awesome. We do have some customer questions. 40 Moto Mike, when you do the design, do you give a full permit package with respective state and local government standards?
Hey, Mike. Yeah, so we do offer plan set services for certain systems. There are certain requirements, such as it has to be a hybrid system. We can't currently do off-grid systems, although That's in the works. We also can't do ground mounts, but we can do roof mounts and carports and things of that nature. So it's a full plan set service, although it's not the full permitting package. So we don't fill out the permit applications and things of that nature, but we can assist you in that process as well. That's kind of a part of it. So anything you're unsure of, we're here to help you as a resource for you.
Okay. 40 Moto Mike also wants to know, do you give a full parts list with diagrams and schematics?
Absolutely. So we do give a full parts list. Of course, we can't provide everything, such as conduit, things that we just simply don't have. We can't offer those things. However, starting from the mounting hardware, wiring, all your componentries, tools, accessories, that's all going to be included in your comprehensive quote. In addition to that, we do have a ton of amazing resources in terms of diagrams, specifically for EG4 products and other manufacturers. If there isn't something that's quite meeting your needs in terms of diagrams that you might see in the manufacturer documentation, we are all more than willing to create something for you. Although if you do get a plan set service, those diagrams will be included in those plans.
Sounds like you guys will do your best to serve whatever the customer needs.
Pretty much whatever you need, we're here for you.
So Liv Pierce wants to know, do you help design 1970 Volkswagen buses for travel?
I've actually done quite a few different Volkswagen buses for travel, for sure. Mobile systems are actually my favorite to design. Anyone on my team will know that if they have a mobile system or anything Victron, to come to me, because I enjoy it personally, because that's something I want to do for myself. And I just love the overall idea of the freedom behind mobile builds.
Yeah, so when I was asked about an RV build that we were doing, and
yes,
we had a question about it, and I asked, well, who's someone who can help us find the solution that we needed on this solar mobile build? You were the go-to person.
Yes,
so
I enjoy it, and I hope that their system's going really well so far.
We've got nothing but good results so far.
Good.
So John Melansky wants to know, what other career paths have brought people onto the design team?
Well, I mean, there's a lot of different career paths. I know for myself, I originally was going to go to school for nursing. That just was not the path for me. And I'm incredibly glad that I ended up where I am. I've worked with people that were electricians, servers, just regular customer service employees. There have been people that have transitioned from all walks of life into solar design, because it's something that pretty much anyone can do.
Yeah. Okay. 40 Moto Mike has another question. Is there a cost involved with the design service?
So the design service, specifically to talk to me, is completely free, me and any of my colleagues. So you can schedule your free consultation via the Design Your System link on our site. However, if you're looking for the plan set services themselves, we have both stamped and unstamped plans. The unstamped plans are $500, and then the stamped plans are $750. Although if you're not getting plans, you get access to me completely free.
And then once you give them their plan, what happens?
Well, I'm here for them regardless. I know that there are steps in the process. You have to go through your permitting, you have to fill out applications, there's installation, there's inspection. Essentially, of course, you're going to want to get the system on the way, but you still have access to me. And of course, our amazing tech support team is resources along that journey as well.
Great. Sam wants to know, can I power my whole entire house with one solar panel?
Great question. What kind of house? And no. That's going to be it. No. But realistically, one solar panel is not going to be sufficient. I mean, I get questions all the time of, oh, well, I want to take my whole house off grid. Okay, yeah, we can do that. But it's a lot of the time going to be a goals versus budget conversation. Of course, I can. Now, what are you wanting to do right now? What can you do right now? And what are the ways that I can adjust this to meet your needs right now? And what is our plan for the future? Because you don't have to start off with a massive whole home system. You don't have to spend $20, $30, $40, $50,000. We can start you off with a simple system, maybe a couple of panels, inverter, battery, and then I'll be here for the expansion along the way. My personal favorite thing is when people actually come back to me. They say, hey, Cali, my system's working great. They'll send me photos, they'll send me updates, and then we'll continue to develop and build that system along the way.
Great. So following up with that question, I would want to ask, what do you think is the most misunderstood part of what the design team does?
That is a great question. I think that there's a lot of different notions about what the design team is, although I think the biggest thing is that we're just going to be a run-of-the-mill solar installer type of company. I got that when I was in design and when I was on sales, where you talk to someone who may not know exactly what they're talking about or may not have your best interest in mind, that really isn't paying attention to your needs, wants, and goals. I can assure you that every member of my team is fully focused on your wants, needs, and goals at all steps in the process. It's just a matter of the considerations and factors that go into it. But when you're talking to us, you're talking to a real human being. I am just as real as every single person watching this. And so you aren't just getting a robot. You're not getting someone that's trying to take your money. You're getting an experience and someone that truly cares about your journey.
So when someone comes to you with the design, you may not have ever been to a location where they are. How do you ensure that the accuracy of your design and that it's going to perform in the way that they need it to when you're designing? What kind of software do you use to help with that?
Absolutely. So I primarily will use a software called Aurora, although I also use Google Earth, a lot of different calculators, a lot of different calculations. There's a lot of math involved in this, but if I'm looking for accuracy, in most cases, I will want to go to Aurora.
Mm-hmm.
Aurora is a software that we use that does roof mapping. It also does irradiance. We can check and see the sun path. We can see 3D imagery of what the area looks like. I can input different conditions and essentially simulate the entire process with a ton of different factors to ensure accuracy. But the biggest part of ensuring system accuracy is really getting to know who I'm working with. Not every system is the same. So I may think that I know, but then I ask one question differently and it completely changes the direction of the entire system. So it comes down to really ensuring that I have their needs in mind and I know what they're looking for.
Okay. So I love how you're constantly keeping the customer's needs and their goals at the forefront of every question that you ask and everything that you do. That's really, really important. So my guy Kirby says, can you provide measurement diagrams for mounting the equipment on the wall? He says, I want to pre-build blocking in my garage wall to hang the grid boss, flex boss, and batteries, plus the run for the wiring.
Absolutely. So the grid boss, flex boss, and I'm assuming the indoor wall mounts, as most people do, those are pretty awesome products. They've been probably, I'd say, 70% of my conversations as of lately. But the great thing about those products is that we have a ton of documentation available on them. So there is certain spacing requirements that we have to follow, whether it be in your particular area or just manufacturer specs. But we're always happy to, like I said, diagrams. We can draw that out, we can map it out and figure out exactly how we need to fit that equipment into that location for you.
We're getting a lot of audience questions today. Greg wants to know, what does design a system mean? Do you help with how the panels are configured on the roof or where the batteries go? Or is the service about designing a system based on my electric bill?
So I'm going to say all of the above.
Yeah.
All of the above, really. So yes, of course, it's going to be based on electric bill. It's also going to be based on your loads. So for example, a home that has primarily propane appliances is not going to be created equally to a home that has all electric appliances. There's a lot of different factors that come into it. But yes, we will do panel placement. We will configure mounting hardware in accordance with that panel placement. We will pretty much do everything except for things on the AC wiring side. So we aren't certified electricians. That's an important thing to note. So when talking in terms of AC wiring, that is important to have an electrician for. But pretty much anything that you might need or want, we're pretty much willing to do. We just really want to make sure you have your questions answered, because there are, of course, now many more amazing resources for this, but nothing's going to beat talking to a real person who has the industry experience, that does this every day, that gets these questions. We get these questions all the time. So don't hesitate to ask questions to your designer. We get them all the time and we are here to help. And we would rather be certain that you know than you be unsure, because you're working with electricity. Safety is important.
That's right. So Godheart Guardian wants to know, if we have new unused equipment we bought and something new came out, is there a trade-in upgrade service?
So that's more of a customer service question, technically. Now, with that said, we don't necessarily have trade-ins. However, we do offer returns. So there's a small restocking fee depending on the equipment. If you would like to return it, it depends on the condition of the equipment, whether it's opened, used, etc. But you can work with our tech team or our customer service team, depending on the size of your equipment, to get that return. We can issue store credit, and then we could potentially get you some new equipment on the way.
So Greg has a follow-up question to his design a system question. Mm-hmm. He says, for instance, I want a system to charge my car and power my pool. Would you help me with the whole system layout or wires I need or what type of parts I need?
Absolutely. So, like I said, on the AC wiring side of things, so for example, if you needed to know what size wire to put in your breaker and your loads panel, that's not going to be my thing. That's going to be an electrician. However, in order to size your system, I can do that. I can ensure we have the correct amount of panels. I can size your inverter, your tools, your solar panel wiring. So, the runs of that you're going to need, pretty much every little piece that you might need, especially on the DC side, I'll be able to help with.
Great. Laura Krause says, do your design plans meet NEC codes?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the certifications are crucial in all of this. We're working with electricity. I mean, that is going to be an absolute requirement. Now, that's going to be our plan sets. So, any other manufacturer documentation, I can't necessarily speak on, although I know all of our manufacturers are amazing on that. Certifications and staying up to code is crucial for what we do.
Absolutely. Yeah. 40 Moto Mike says, for an average sized household, would 125 amps, 30 kilowatts worth of solar be enough to take most households off grid?
I would say that 125 amps and 30 kilowatts of solar is incredibly sufficient. Now, that's going to depend, like I said earlier, are you all electric? Do you have gas? Do you have an EV? What does your well pump look like? There's a lot of factors that go into this, but I would say that that's a pretty generously sized system for most residential homes, especially with 125 amps of coverage. It's unlikely you ever see a full 200 amps whenever you're running a 200 amp home. So that's, I would say, pretty generous.
So I would say those are some of the questions that you would start with when someone comes to you to design their system. What kinds of loads are you running?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, the first question I always ask, honestly, is what's brought you to talking to me today? Why am I on the phone? What are we doing here exactly? And that usually is where I find out more information about them. Not just, oh, why do you want solar? I want to know about your family. I want to know what your real motivations are. I want to know you as a person, and that's going to help me a lot more in designing a system, again, more fit for the person.
Right. So John Malansky says, regarding EG4 inverters for a typical residence, when does an 18K PV make more sense over a FlexBoss?
Well, if you're going to have a FlexBoss, you ideally want a grid boss, and that is because the 18K PV has the 200 amp bypass and automatic transfer switch that's built into the grid boss, but the FlexBoss does not have. So they're virtually the same thing, just a little bit different. The 18K PV is going to be fit for someone that maybe just wants to do partial home backup, or they're more comfortable with the integration of some of the more in-depth electrical equipment, whether you're doing a feeder tap or something like that. And then, the 18K PV can also be easier in terms of spacing at times. Really, it depends on the person. There really isn't an answer of yes or no. With the FlexBoss and GridBoss, you get a lot of additional features, the smart ports, the dedicated generator entrance. You get to parallel up to 3 inverters. A lot of benefits of that, although there are still some people that the 18K PV is better suited for. That's something we could talk about, though. So give me a call and we can talk about which one's better for you.
Great. Brian M. says, do the Tigo transmitters in the FlexBoss 21 units use their pure signal technology? He says, I want to tie each PV string in the same conduit into a separate FlexBoss 21.
So the RSS is technically going to be within the GridBoss itself, not necessarily the FlexBoss 21, although the RSSs are going to be built into these units themselves. So you would be able to tie your Taigo units directly into the EG4 equipment. They are RSS equipped. They have a rapid shutdown button on the side, and then, of course, dry contacts to be able to wire in an external rapid shutdown, which is going to be required in most jurisdictions.
So Andrew Lineweaver, sorry if I pronounced your name wrong. He's kind of getting us back to the point of our conversation today, but you've done great answering all these questions, and thank you guys for your participation. He wants to know, could you run us through an example of the design process? For example, in looking for an off-grid system that I can upgrade from time to time, is the integration for new products to old. So what is the design process?
Absolutely. So in our case, of course, you'll see at the top of our website, there is the Design Your System banner. You click on that, you fill out an application. That is then going to be sent over to a designer, whether it's me or one of my amazing colleagues. From that point, we're going to reach out to you, whether it be via email, phone call, or text. We will reach out to you to schedule a consultation. During that consultation, we'll go over various different information. Usually it's going to be the overall scope of what we're looking to do. Sometimes we're able to design the systems on the call, but most of the time it's going to require a follow-up call. So we will get enough information. We'll schedule a follow-up call with you in a couple of days. In that time, we're going to do our research, take a look at what your needs are. If we have any other information that we need from you, that's the time to get it to us. Pro tip, if you were going to have a designer design your system, come prepared with your last year's historical usage. That helps us a lot. But just in the in-between phase, and then the solution call, like I like to call it, is where we go over the final details. So sometimes we'll do a phone call, sometimes we'll do a Google Meet. And what that's going to look like is going over what I've come up with for you. Now, this isn't set in stone. I don't say I'm not the end all be all of what the system's going to be, but this is my idea. And then it's a Q&A session. It's more of just a back and forth of, oh, well, why is this this? Why is this this? I'll answer all your questions for you. And then from that point, we'll decide on what the next steps are. For some people, it's going to be plan sets. For other people, it's going to be purchasing. For some people, it's going to be making adjustments, whatever it may be. And then from that point, that's where our journey really starts. And I start to really become a professional question answer, because there's going to be a lot of questions after that, all with the end goal of hopefully getting the system on the way to you. So there isn't a set in stone design process. It's really what you make it out to be. Just whatever you need me to be, I do my best to be that.
That's great. Sounds like a really full process where you are the go-to person and the point of contact for all of the customers' needs once they make the first contact with you.
Absolutely. That's exactly the goal. We want you to go to one person that knows you, that knows your system, that knows your needs. And it's really about building a relationship. I've built some phenomenal relationships with people over the duration of my career here, and I look forward to building more over time. It's the best part of the job.
What would you say has been your biggest success story that you feel like that your feel-good moment? Do you have one of those that you can think back on and share?
I absolutely do. And it might not be what some people think. So I have this customer of mine. He's from Oklahoma, and I started working with him at the beginning of my career. I think it was my first month by myself in sales. He will call in and order a couple of small things, maybe a 100-watt panel here, maybe some wire there. And so I've been working with him for about a year and a half now. And he called me a couple of months ago and said, hey, Cali, I'm going to be coming up to Texas. I'm going to get a new inverter. And this was a really big upgrade for him. It was a significant thing for him because we know these are significant investments for y'all. He was like, I'm going to get a new inverter. It was something he was incredibly excited for. So rather than having it shipped, he drove all the way here from Oklahoma. And then I went over to the retail store to meet him because I love meeting you guys. Went over to the retail store and we met up, and, Clay and Paige at the retail store got him very well taken care of. Then afterwards, he ended up calling me and saying how happy he was, how grateful he was. And then a couple hours later, I get notified that there was something at the front desk for me. He'd sent me flowers. Aww. So I had a bouquet of flowers sitting at the front desk for me. And it's moments like that that just make me very proud of the work that I do, the appreciation that people have, and the appreciation that I have for everyone that I work with, regardless of what you're getting. I just want to see you happy and see you really meet your goals.
Wow, that's really special. Yeah. We had some more questions come in. Godheart Guardian says, for off-grid use, is there an automatic transfer switch in the EG4 6000? And if not, is there a product that can automatically switch to generator at a certain level of remaining battery?
Yeah, absolutely. So the 6000 XP does have dry contacts for your auto start stop built into it. So all you have to do is, number one, make sure that your generator meets the total harmonic distortion requirements. Make sure that it also has the dry contacts for the auto start/stop. And then you can actually set within the parameters of the inverter and battery to have that generator kick on whenever the batteries reach a certain state of charge.
Yeah. Great. 40 Moto Mike. He says, I think I missed it again. Oops. Taigo optimizers, do they need the base station or direct integration into the inverters for the shutdown?
So the optimizers are going to be different than rapid shutdown. So with your rapid shutdown, which you have your just TS4AFs or TS4A2Fs, those are going to need the RSS transmitter itself, which those generally are going to be wired into an external power supply. But with the TS4AS and TS4AOs, which are going to be your monitoring and then your monitoring and optimization, those are actually going to have the external CCA kit, which is going to include a data logger and a tap, which again, external power supply, but then that's going to then communicate with the inverter or grid boss, whatever it may be. It's going to communicate within that.
Okay. We still have a lot of audience questions come in. If you've got the time, we'll keep going.
I got time.
All right. So John Melansky wants to know, do you recommend getting plan set approved by AHJ and utility before buying equipment?
That depends. So, you'll want to have these conversations in advance. Although, in terms of equipment, specifically in regard to panels, panels will sometimes go really quickly. So, that's going to be kind of the biggest issue that people will run into is getting these products approved. Less in terms of panels, but then those panels may go out of stock. You may not have purchased them. So then we're either having to redo those plans, you're having to redo those permits. You'll have to redo the entire process versus going ahead and getting them then. Although I've never a single time had an issue where a customer came to me and said, Callie, I cannot get this approved. Because most of the time, especially when I was in sales, people would purchase prior to getting their approvals and things like that. It just depends on the times. We have different sales and promos. The market's always fluctuating. Whatever works best for you, although there's really never issues in terms of kickbacks on things like that. It can just be a little bit more of a drawn out process depending on how much they want to fight with you.
You're doing a great job.
Thank you.
Laura Crow wants to know, solar, we have 4 5.12 kilowatt hour batteries.
Okay.
Can you design the system up to the AC side of things that don't intend to sell to the utilities? Can you create the needed parts list to complete the parts needed?
Yeah, absolutely. Now, again, AC side, not so much, like you said, but absolutely. I mean, I can probably build you a system off the top of my head if you give me a little bit of information. So I'm sure I can make that happen for you.
Yeah. Do that every day, right?
Yes, every day of my life.
Data Android says 24 by 410 watt panels. I use Snap and Rack top speed to install the panels. The city now says they need an affidavit from an engineer that the panels were installed correctly. Any idea what I can do?
So you're most likely going to have to contract an engineer. There are freelance engineers and engineering firms that you may have to contact directly because they need that signature. They're going to need an engineer signature. Not Canadian Solar. Snap and Rack has some phenomenal documentation on their website as far as the engineered requirements for their products. So I would start there and confirm and see, okay, well, maybe this documentation may be sufficient for this, but if not, you might need an engineer to come at least do a site survey and give you a signature.
Where might they find some engineers?
Google.
Don't know.
Google is going to be your best friend, guys. Google is your best friend. Word of mouth is also good. I mean, I know a lot of people watching this are in the Facebook groups as well and in the forums. So just talk to different people in your area, talk to different people on the forums and the groups, use your resources. We don't have any direct contacts to engineers, unfortunately, but there should be someone that is willing to come out and just take a look. You could also see if your city has anyone that they recommend. Sometimes they might have a list of inspectors or engineers that are contracted through them that are required for them to use. So it just depends on your jurisdiction.
Okay. Flipping Llama. If I go with a GridBoss FlexBoss combo, do I still need rapid shutdown devices at the panel level?
That depends. So generally, rapid shutdown is going to be an NEC requirement. However, the jurisdiction actually supersedes the NEC when it comes to code enforcement. So it depends on what your jurisdiction requires. Any rooftop solar, you're going to want rapid shutdown. Sometimes your jurisdiction may say, oh, well, you don't need it. I'd say 99.9% of the time you do. It's going to vary. Sometimes with ground mounts you do, sometimes you don't. If you have batteries located inside, then you will need rapid shutdown. Now, the GridBoss, FlexBoss, and all EG4 batteries are equipped with rapid shutdown. So that can be wired in externally, or you can push the button on the side. But for rooftop, it's going to be jurisdictionally. However, I always recommend having rapid shutdown for safety purposes.
Yeah, safety always comes first.
Safety always comes first.
Yeah. Laura Crow wants to know, what is the general timeline for a parts list and plans after an initial consult?
Well, after an initial consult, usually my follow-up consultations are scheduled within 2 to 3 business days, depending on my calendar. Right now, my calendar is booked for the week, so it would have to be at least next Monday. But I would say within a reasonable time frame of 5 business days, depending on the complexity. Now, for a simple system, it should only take a couple of days, depending on what the calendar looks like. But for something a bit more in depth, or let's say we're waiting on some build plans, I do a lot of new builds, so I don't always have the information I need immediately. It's going to vary, but 5 business days is always, that's actually a very generous estimate, usually way quicker than that.
Well, Callie, we are way over time, but you answered a lot of audience questions, and I'm sure you were really, really helpful to all of those that participated in the discussion. Thank you guys for asking and participating. Thanks so much for joining us today and giving us an inside look at the incredible work that the design team is doing. It is very clear that you guys bring an incredible amount of solar knowledge, and not only that, but creativity and problem-solving skills to the table, helping to make some solar dreams come to reality for a lot of customers. And so I just want to say a big thanks
Thank you.
to what you and the entire design team are doing for our customers. So thank you guys for what you're doing.
Thank you so much.
And to everyone watching, thanks so much for joining in today and for participating in the conversation. If you would like to learn more about the design team or to request a custom design, as Callie said earlier, visit us at signaturesolar.com, click on that Design Your System tab. Then you will see two buttons that say Start Your Project or Contact Design, and all of your information will go directly to the team and you can start your process there. As always, don't forget to subscribe and follow us, and we'll see you right here next week on Amp Up Solar Talk. We'll see you next time. Bye.